Have you ever wanted a game that would combine Minecraft with Left 4 Dead? Do you love dwarves? How about space dwarves? Well then, you'd probably like the game Deep Rock Galactic, which just released on Early Access about a month ago. The game is a 4-player shooter where you play as a bunch of dwarven space miners. You're contracted by corporate overlords to extract precious minerals from the planet Hoxus 4, and unfortunately for you and your team, it's full of hostile aliens. The game is currently being developed by the small Danish studio Ghost Ship, and the inspiration for it came from two things. First, the developers love playing co-op games like Left 4 Dead, but they were getting tired of playing on the same static map over and over again, so they thought they could combine the classic co-op shooter they loved with procedural level generation. At the same time, they also love the exploration and mining aspect of Minecraft, but wish that the game had tighter combat. Together, these ideas just combined really well, and it spawned a bunch of other ideas among the team in terms of gameplay and setting. Like dwarves just naturally fit the whole theme of mining, and they went with it. I think the lead programmer for the game explains why they uses dwarves quite nicely.
Because dwarves are awesome, and space is awesome, so it's the perfect match.
And I concur. Now below the game's logo, there's a tagline you might have noticed that reads Danger, Darkness, and Dwarves. And they definitely deliver on all three of those fronts. Danger is all around you as your team explores these caves, and at any moment you can be interrupted by a swarm of bugs, and if you're not careful, they'll overwhelm you easily. Especially on the higher difficulties. I remember one match where we were making our way back to the escape pod, and one by one my squad just got knocked down by the bugs. The timer was counting down and the swarm was just closing in on me, so all I could hope to do was abandon my team and make a mad dash to the escape pod myself. I ended up making it, but only barely. The game also surrounds the player in darkness. There's no artificial light when you're down exploring the caves. The only source of light you get comes from your equipment, like the robotic mule you dump mined resources in during a mission. Other than that, you gotta rely on your weak flashlight mounted to your armor, or the flares you can throw out if you want to have some light. But the flares only last a short amount of time, and you have a limited amount of them that you can throw before you have to wait for a cooldown for them to restock. The flares also add an interesting dynamic where they act as sort of a breadcrumb trail, where you can trace where you've been by the faint glow of dead flares dotting the path behind you. The idea behind the flares actually came from the game Alien vs Predator. The developers love the idea of having a mechanic where you're responsible for your own light source in these dark environments. The game also delivers on the promise of dwarves quite nicely if you ask me. In fact, there are 4 different classes you can choose from to play as, and each has their own equipment and role to play in a group. For example, there's the Gunner class, that comes equipped with a big ol' minigun. It's great for when the bugs begin to swarm you and you need to do some crowd control. You also get a sidearm, which is a useful pistol that can hit hard and snipe enemies from far away, but it has very limited ammo. Gunners also come equipped with a gun that shoots at zip lines. These zip lines can allow you and your team to traverse big horizontal gaps, or make it easier to reach lower parts of the cave. Next we have the Scout class, who comes equipped with an assault rifle. It's not as good at crowd control as the minigun, but it's still pretty good. The sidearm this time is a double-barreled shotgun, which deals massive damage to enemies that try and get up close and personal with you, but has limited ammo. Scouts also come equipped with 2 great pieces of equipment. One of these is the grappling hook. The grappling hook can make traversing the cave a breeze, and it can be used to collect hard-to-reach resources on the map. Then there's the flare gun, which acts as a far more useful version of the typical flare that everyone else carries. It's a great piece of equipment for when you want to figure out whether or not you mined out every single mineral patch in an area. Plus, unlike every other class that gets a frag grenade, the Scout comes equipped with an IFG grenade. The IFG grenade will create a persistent electrical field and slow down any enemy that walks through it. After that, we have the Driller class, who comes equipped with a flamethrower. It's great at crowd control and damaging heavier bugs, but has a limited range compared to the minigun. Then there's the Driller's sidearm, which is a pistol, and to be honest, it's pretty weak, but it has a buttload of ammo compared to everyone else's sidearm. Then there's her signature piece of equipment, 2 reinforced power drills. These drills can easily carve through any cave surface and allow you to create a ladder for your team to climb, make a path to out-of-reach minerals, or even carve a brand new tunnel. I can't count the number of missions where my team decided it would be easier to have the driller carve a tunnel straight to the escape pod instead of figuring their own way back organically. Finally, we have the Engineer class. Their main weapon is a combat shotgun, and their sidearm is a grenade launcher. Both are solid weapons, but be careful to splash damage when you use the grenade launcher, because it can wreak havoc on you and your team. The Engineer's main ability is setting up 2 sentry turrets that are able to lock onto enemies and shoot at them. They're great for when you need to fortify your team's position during a swarm, or you just want to give yourself some peace of mind when you turn your back to mine some resources. The other piece of equipment that engineers get is the platform gun, and it shoots these little platforms that you can stand on. They're great if you need to make a makeshift bridge or create a ladder down a vertical shaft. But the best thing to do is to combine your platform gun with the scout's grapple hook. Just launch a platform underneath a patch of minerals high up on the wall, then your scout can easily grapple there and mine from the platform. Now that's what I call teamwork. These 4 classes can be upgraded in the main hub area. You can go about increasing your stats like your damage output, defense, or ammo count, or you can hop on over to the vanity shop and pick yourself up some shiny new armor, or spend it all on a nicer beard. You decide. But upgrading your character requires resources, and the only way to get those is to go on missions. When choosing a mission, there's multiple factors that you need to consider. First, you have to choose what biome you're going to play in. Each biome not only comes with its own aesthetic, but different challenges that you have to deal with. You have biomes like the Magma Core. It's bathed in a reddish-orange tint, and it's filled with dark rocks. It's also home to lava geysers, earthquakes, and these plants that will explode if you damage them too much. There's also the crystalline caverns. They're blue and pink and full of glowing crystals. This biome tends to feature more open chambers than others and requires a lot of vertical mobility. These crystalline caverns are also home to lightning crystals, which are the bane of my goddamn existence. If you get too close to them, they will damage you, and if you enter a room full of them, they will arc off one another for maximum irritation. Each biome also has its own unique rare minerals to find, and these rare minerals are used heavily when purchasing upgrades. The next factor to consider after choosing a biome is what mission type you're going to play, and there are currently 5 different types of missions to choose from. You have your standard mining expeditions, where you need to collect a set amount of a certain mineral before calling for an escape pod. 2 of the other mission types have the same basic objective as mining expeditions, but with some slight variations. The first of these are collection missions, where instead of collecting a kind of mineral, you're collecting stuff like plants or eggs. You also tend to encounter more bugs on these missions as well. The other is Search and Extract, which is the same as a typical mining expedition, except instead of being dropped into a cave with a linear tunnel system, you're dropped into one big multi-level cavern, and it requires far more coordinated teamwork to traverse. After that, you have elimination missions, where you locate 3 cocoons and then destroy the dreadnought inside. Dreadnoughts are basically beefier and more deadly versions of the Praetorian monster you regularly fight. The final mission type, and arguably my favorite, are point extractions. During a point extraction, you're dropped into one large cavern with a specialized platform outfitted with turrets. It's then your job to explore the cavern surrounding that platform and collect a specified amount of whatever mineral it tells you to. While doing this, you'll be constantly bombarded by alien swarms more so than any other mission type. Other factors to keep in mind when you're choosing a mission are cave complexity, mission length, and hazard level, because each of these will factor into how difficult the mission is and the payout that you get. Also, remember that each mission has a bonus objective that you can complete for extra rewards. To complete a mission, you can join up with 3 other people in co-op or go solo. The developers even include an extra robot companion to get this harder to reach minerals when you play by yourself. But I don't recommend it. I personally don't think you get the full Deep Rock Galactic experience when you play alone, because at the end of the day, this is a co-op shooter. It's meant to be played with friends, or at least, strangers. However, no matter how many people you play with or what mission type you choose, the gameplay loop will remain largely the same. You drop in a cave, explore it, mine resources, and fight bugs. But this is a loop that's very satisfying. The feel and sound of each piece of equipment just feels right, whether you're unloading on alien bugs with a minigun, or just mining resources with your pickaxe. It all just works. The presentation all around actually is pretty solid. The caves themselves are varied in design thanks to procedural generation, and a joy to both explore and look at. Paired with the gorgeous visuals, there's a lovely synth soundtrack that lends itself nicely to whatever activity you're doing. You've got somber and moody tracks for exploration, and you have tense pulsating tracks for the combat. Everything in the game comes together really nicely into one cohesive package, one that is surprisingly well polished for an early access title. To be honest, my only gripes with this game stem from the fact that it's early access. Stuff like balancing issues, the limited progression system, or the small amount of enemy types and biomes are all things that Ghost Ship are well aware of, and the developers have confirmed that they are working on expanding and polishing each of those aspects, and they've been really good so far at communicating with their players. $25 might be a bit of a high price tag for some, considering it's an early access game with somewhat limited content, but the content it does have is great. Plus, there's a lot of potential for this game to improve and expand, and I have faith in the team behind this game to reach that potential. You can currently find this game on Xbox One or Steam Early Access, and if you ask me, it's well worth it. Well, thanks for watching. This was the first early access game I've covered, and I plan to do others in the future. If you like this video, please check out my others, and if you would like to know what I'm up to, just follow me on social media. Have a good one.